Hi everyone, welcome back to Betrayed. Thank you for joining us today. We have a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My unfaithful wife panicked and pleaded for forgiveness, but now she must face the consequences she rightfully deserves. I found out about my soon-to-be ex-wife's affair about 7 months ago. I went through all the heartbreak, denial, pain, and attempts to win me back. I was deeply depressed for a long time. I never confronted her directly, but I was emotionally shattered. She must have known that I was aware of her infidelity, yet she didn't seem to care, or at least that's what I assumed. Around 2 to 3 months ago, I finally felt done. Done with the pain, done with her, and done with the marriage. I stopped caring. I completely disconnected from the relationship and began preparing for divorce and a fresh start. I avoided my wife as much as possible. I tried not to be at home when she was there. When she spoke to me, I kept my responses short, only saying yes, no, maybe, or I don't know. I even left the divorce lawyer's bills out in the open. She had to know I was emotionally gone and getting ready to leave. Even our children asked me about it. They could clearly sense what was happening. I even had the "we both love you" talk with them, explaining, "It's not your fault. Sometimes adults just can't stay together anymore," and so on. My wife was in the room when I said this, and she didn't say anything, not a single word. I took her silence as agreement. Then, a few days ago, I ran into a girl I used to know from school, long before I ever met my wife. There was always this unspoken chemistry between us, a natural spark. We would flirt and be playful, but we never took it any further. Let's call her Monica, because she reminds me of Monica Bellucci. Monica and her family moved away before I had the courage to tell her how I felt. I regretted not doing so for a long time. But I was young, shy, and unsure back then. I hadn't thought about Monica in years. But the moment we saw each other again, that familiar tension returned, stronger than I remembered. Talking to her was effortless. She actually asked me out. I explained my situation with my soon-to-be ex-wife and told her I wanted to be officially separated before I started dating. I wasn't going to cheat. Monica respected that. She gave me her number and told me to call her once I'd taken care of things. She told me she had never married and was excited to reconnect. I was even more excited. That meeting gave me the motivation to finally face my wife and get the separation and divorce process officially started. I came home feeling genuinely happy. I sat down and waited for my wife, smiling like someone who had found peace. When she walked in, I asked her to sit down. I told her we needed to talk. I explained that I had known about her affair for a long time. I said I figured she also knew that I was aware, especially since I had emotionally checked out of the relationship for the past 3 months. She didn't seem to care, so I told her I was ready to move on and start dating again. I ended by saying, "Considering everything, it's time for us to get divorced. Don't you agree?" Her reaction completely surprised me. She started crying, not just normal crying, but deep, heartbreaking sobs. I've never heard anything like it. She started blurting out excuses and begged for another chance. She said the affair meant nothing and that we could fix our marriage through counseling and effort. I was stunned. I honestly thought she would be relieved. I even told her she could be with the other man without feeling guilty. Clearly, he was more important to her than our family, or else, why would she have cheated in the first place? She had to know that this would destroy us. She couldn't be that naive, could she? I told her, if she truly believed we needed to fix our family or our marriage, the time to do that was 7 months ago before she cheated. Now it's too late. Everything's broken beyond repair. I never thought we had any serious problems in our marriage. She never talked to me about being unhappy. I'm not a mind reader. How was I supposed to know something was wrong? Her affair clearly shows she thought something was missing. Whatever it was, it must have felt so significant that she didn't believe it could be solved through a conversation. Something must have felt so wrong that she was okay with our children growing up in a broken home. Otherwise, why do it? I calmly explained to her that there's no way to erase what she did. She spent the last 7 months with another man. There's no undoing the pain and emotional damage she caused. That pain led me to this point, where I've stopped caring or maybe even started resenting her. Now, I'm just being polite for the sake of co-parenting our children in the future. I told her I didn't believe she ever truly loved me. No one who cares about someone could ever hurt them the way she hurt me. Real love doesn't involve betrayal like this. Her saying "I love you" holds no meaning now. Her actions clearly proved otherwise. At this point, she broke down completely and became almost impossible to understand. I couldn't make sense of anything my wife was saying. It was just a chaotic, jumbled mess. In the end, I had to call her sister because, honestly, I wasn't going to be the one taking care of her in that state. Her sister arrived, and after I explained everything, she took her away. When they finally left, I felt a huge wave of relief, as if I could truly breathe for the first time in 7 months. I'm not even sure what I'm hoping to find here. She must have known this outcome was coming. Maybe she even wanted it. There's no way she could honestly believe that the choices she made would lead to anything other than divorce and a broken home. She's a smart and attractive woman. Our marriage had been strong, at least until she began her affair. I've accepted that life changes, and I've moved on from it. Now, suddenly, she's acting like she still loves me and wants to stay married and keep the family together. But what's the point of all this emotional drama now? What does she stand to gain? Surely, she can't really believe we could reconcile at this point. It feels more like some sort of tactic, but I can't figure out what for. I have a lot of solid proof of her cheating. I live in a European country, which means if adultery is proven, she wouldn't receive any alimony or financial benefits. Maybe that's why she's panicking? Could it be she's afraid I'll expose her? Or maybe she's worried I'll tell the wife of the man she had the affair with he's married to. Maybe she wants me to feel pity, so I won't reveal her actions. Honestly, I just can't wrap my head around it. I needed to get these thoughts out. I was hoping writing them down would bring clarity, but it hasn't. I'm still just as confused as when I started typing this. Update: my cheating soon-to-be ex-wife continues to confuse me. First of all, thank you to everyone who responded. Your support has meant a lot. It's been overwhelming in many ways. I haven't had a chance to reply to everyone, but I've tried to read every message. I wrote the original post 3 days after that conversation with my wife, during which I had barely slept. In fact, I passed out while reading responses on my laptop, and when I woke up, I had a keyboard imprint on my face, but also a much clearer mind. I decided to get organized. I started making lists, pros and cons, about the key issues. I taped several sheets of paper to the wall with different headings. The kids, how to act when I see my wife, thoughts about our marriage, Monica, questions to ask my wife, and so on. The final document is too long to share here, but I'll summarize the most important parts. My goal was to figure out my core values and the things that matter most to me moving forward. Then I evaluated whether I could achieve anything meaningful in each area and what that would look like. First and foremost, my children are my top priority. I've decided to do even more to support them emotionally through all this. I'll arrange individual and family counseling, plan trips, and spend more quality time with them. I want to create new, happy memories together. I'm also going to involve the rest of my family so my kids feel surrounded by love and support. I'll reach out to their teachers, coaches, and others in their lives to ensure their support network is strong and constant. I've also taken an STI test, and I've scheduled a DNA test for the children. Just the idea that they might not be mine makes me deeply uncomfortable, but I need to be certain, not just for myself, but for them. If they aren't biologically mine, they may need medical information from their real father. Or someday, they might want to connect with him. Either way, I need to be honest and take action now. Hopefully, the tests confirm they are mine. I'll be anxious until I know for sure. After I spoke privately with their therapists, we had a family meeting where we gently explained everything to the kids. We let them ask all the questions they needed. I reassured them again and again that I love them more than anything, that I will always be there for them, and that nothing will ever change that. They can come to me with anything, always. Regarding my marriage, I've accepted that I can never trust my wife again. And without trust, there can be no real relationship. I also realized something else. I don't love her anymore. I don't love the person she has become. I used to love her deeply. That love was a huge part of who I was. But she destroyed it with her betrayal. It changed the way I see her. Could I ever love her again? Maybe.
But only if I wanted to.
And honestly, I don't. It's better for both of us to end things and move on with our lives. I no longer want the marriage, I don't want the relationship, and I don't want her. The part of me that once felt joy and warmth just thinking of her, now it fills me with dread and painful memories. Even thinking about being connected to her in any way causes me discomfort. Divorce is inevitable, and I want to get it over with as soon as possible. As for Monica, I've had many conversations with her, and I've taken into account the concerns people shared. I spoke to some people on Reddit, and it made me wonder if jumping into a new relationship was really a good idea right now. My life is a complete mess, and I didn't want to drag Monica into it. But she disagreed. She told me, "Life is messy. Might as well see how we deal with that together." While we were getting to know each other, I learned the reason she never married. She had actually been engaged, but her fiancé died unexpectedly in a work accident almost 5 years ago. It devastated her. Though she had gone on a few dates since then, she was never able to form a real connection until now. From her point of view, life is short, and when a real opportunity comes along, you have to take the risk. I told her honestly that I don't want to start anything serious until my divorce is final. I may be separated, but technically, I'm still married, and I don't want to cross that line. She completely understood and respected that. We also talked about how it might look to others if we were suddenly seen together. People could easily assume she was the reason for the divorce. I don't want that for her. We agreed to wait a little while after the divorce is official before we do anything publicly. I feel incredibly drawn to Monica. That phone call we had, it came close to an emotional affair in my eyes. So, I've decided not to contact her again until the legal separation is complete. We agreed I would handle everything I need to, and once I'm ready, I'll reach out. Then we'll see where things stand. When it came time to plan the meeting with my wife, I wrote down the kind of man I want to be. I told myself I would make every effort to be that man during our conversation. The man I was before all of this began. I decided I would stay calm. I wouldn't be cruel. The goal of the conversation was to move forward with our lives and to co-parent as best as possible for the sake of our kids. Still, I prepared a list of questions. I wanted to understand what she was thinking when she chose to have the affair and what she expects moving forward. I also made a commitment to myself. I won't be manipulative. I won't give her false hope about reconciliation just to get a better postnup or divorce outcome. I've decided to be fair. We'll divide the assets equally, and we'll have 50-50 custody. Even though she treated me terribly, I won't let that define my behavior. I won't use her as my example. I want to act in a way I can be proud of today, tomorrow, and even 20 years from now. I do hate her for what she did, to me, to us, and to our children. But I also love the memories of the good times we had. I love the children we created and raised together. And I'll try to remember her through that lens, not just for her betrayal. I know I can't hold on to hatred forever. At some point, I need to forgive her, not for her sake, but so I can truly move on. Up until the affair, I believed we had a good marriage. We were affectionate, spent quality time together, rarely argued, and willingly made sacrifices for one another. I was very open with her, and I thought she was open with me too. But now, her actions prove otherwise. When Saturday came, I went to see her. Her sister had warned me she was in bad shape, and she wasn't wrong. My soon-to-be ex-wife looked awful. Her eyes were bloodshot, her face was swollen, her hair was messy, and she looked like she'd lost a lot of weight. It was like she had collapsed inward. I doubt she'd eaten or slept much all week. We sat down together. She was shaking almost uncontrollably. Strangely, I felt calm. I could see she was in pain, and I felt for her, but not as her husband. It was more like the way you feel when you see a powerful scene in a movie. It confirmed for me that I don't love her anymore. I waited patiently for her to collect herself enough to speak. She tried several times but kept breaking down in tears. This wasn't an act. I've seen her cry before, but never like this. Maybe people can fake tears, but not this kind of crying. Her face showed the signs of crying nonstop for days. There were soul-crushing sobs, snot, and raw emotion. When she finally spoke, it was like a dam burst. She apologized constantly. To my surprise, she didn't try to shift the blame or make excuses. Her sister also cried and occasionally scolded her harshly. I learned during that conversation that her sister had warned her this would happen. Apparently, her sister had also lost her fiancé due to cheating. I didn't know that. Her sister's experience triggered something in my wife, a sort of midlife crisis. She started to think about cheating more and more. In the end, she gave in to a crush. She got infatuated and acted on it, thinking she could control it. She never believed I would find out. She never thought anyone would get hurt. It was selfish, plain and simple. According to her, she was actually happy in our marriage. But she convinced herself that she deserved this fling. She even told herself that I would probably understand if I knew how happy she was at the time. She believed the affair would be short-lived and that everything would go back to normal afterward. She had no idea. I found out the truth, and only when I began emotionally detaching did she start to realize something was wrong. I learned that she ended things with the affair partner, AP, about a month and a half ago. The excitement had started to wear off. She handed me her phone to prove it, and I saw that she had blocked him. But when I unblocked his number, a flood of messages came pouring in, messages going back a month and a half. She had been trying to re-engage me in our marriage during that time, but I hadn't shown any interest in reconnecting, at least not until I finally sat her down. She was convinced that somehow we'd find our way back together and come out of this stronger than before. But when she looked into my eyes as I confronted her, she realized this was probably the end. Reality hit her like a ton of bricks. I asked her questions, mainly to understand what was going through her mind when she decided it was okay to do this to us, to our children. The truth is, it was just selfishness. That's all it ever was. And I've come to understand something many of you have pointed out. I'll never get the answers I'm looking for, because they don't exist. There is no acceptable reason for cheating, so no answer will ever be acceptable. But in a strange way, I did get closure. I had the chance to tell her just how deeply she hurt me, how much pain she caused. I made her acknowledge that it was her fault our marriage is over, and that our children will now grow up in a broken home. That gave me a strange sense of peace. She had been researching everything she could about repairing a marriage after infidelity. She even prepared a complete timeline and a signed, detailed confession. Everything. I didn't read it. I just handed it to my lawyer.
She begged.
Over and over again. She begged for another chance. She said she would do anything. I told her I didn't believe her. In fact, I don't believe anything she says anymore. I simply don't trust her. She asked me what she could do to fix things. I told her, "You broke it. If you don't know how to fix it, how can you expect me to come up with a solution?" I asked her, "If you were in my shoes, what would you say to that?" We went back and forth like this for a while. In the end, she admitted that if our roles were reversed, she probably wouldn't be able to forgive me either. I told her I'd gotten tested for STIs and that I planned to get a DNA test for the kids. She completely broke down when she heard that, crying nonstop for about 20 minutes. She insisted this was the only time she had ever cheated, the only time she had ever crossed a line. But again, after more conversation, she admitted that if she were me, she wouldn't believe it either, and that I was right to doubt her. I asked her if the AP's wife knew about the affair.
She said no.
I asked her if she thought the AP's wife deserved to know.
She said yes.
Then I asked, "So, who should tell her, you or me?" She asked if I'd consider reconciliation or marriage counseling if she told the wife. I told her no, but I also said that doing the right thing might help her regain a small shred of respect in my eyes. She promised to tell the AP's wife and to come clean to everyone else as well. She even said she would report everything to HR. Again, I told her I didn't really believe her. She swore she'd never be with anyone else again and that she would never stop trying to win me back, even if it took the rest of her life. I didn't believe that either, but I didn't say anything. At this point, it was becoming repetitive. She offered me a one-sided open marriage, complete access to all her communications, and promised 24/7 availability. I told her that I had spoken to Monica and that I was waiting because I didn't want to cheat. I'm not interested in an open relationship. That kind of arrangement would hurt Monica, and I refused to hurt someone the way I was hurt. I also told her I didn't want to be her jailer. Constantly checking her messages and being suspicious every day isn't a foundation for a healthy relationship. And I'm not interested in physical intimacy without a real emotional connection. Sex for the sake of sex means nothing to me. If I needed something purely physical, I can take care of that on my own, and I don't need a partner just for physical release. By this point, we were all emotionally drained. We had been talking for over 5 hours, and my wife had been crying almost the entire time, her emotions ranging from bad to utterly overwhelming. We weren't going to get any further. It was over. I told her clearly, the love I once had for her is gone. I no longer recognize the person she has become. She destroyed our family with her own actions, and I would go through with the divorce. I told her that nothing she did now could undo what happened. The only way to prevent this would have been to not start the affair 7 months ago. I didn't want our marriage back.
I didn't want her back.
I didn't want any more pain. I suggested we go no contact for a while to create some space and gain perspective. I told her I had already filed for divorce and that my mind was made up. We could begin family therapy to learn how to co-parent for the kids' sake, but beyond that, I didn't even want to see her. It was incredibly painful to say these words. She cried uncontrollably, repeating no, 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 please no, over and over. As I got up to leave, she suddenly had a severe nosebleed, almost explosive, and as she reached for me, she passed out. I caught her before she hit the ground. I drove her and her sister to the ER and stayed until I knew she was going to be okay. Last night and today, my soon-to-be ex-wife has started telling people what she did. This morning, the affair partner's wife called me to confirm the story. I sent her copies of some of the evidence. I just found out she kicked her husband out. She asked if we could meet to go over more of the evidence. She had suspected something for a long time, but never had solid proof. I suggested we sit down for dinner tomorrow. She also asked if we could talk on the phone. I wasn't sure I could handle that right now, so I told her maybe later. I'll admit it, I feel like a mess. I haven't been able to sleep. Cracks are forming in my resolve. I know I have to stay strong, but it's incredibly hard. Why do I feel so guilty? Why do I feel responsible for fixing this? We might be able to fool ourselves for a little while, but deep down, we know it likely won't last. Some of her friends and family have been calling and yelling at me, saying I should give her a second chance. But in my mind, I keep thinking, why prolong the pain? Why not rip the bandage off and begin healing so we can rebuild our lives? So that's it. No dramatic revenge. No feeling of justice. No peace. No happy ending. Just more pain for all of us. Right now, my mind is in a very dark place. And honestly, I don't know what to do next.